Hey everybody, Josh here. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be trying something new, so hopefully you guys enjoy this video. But if you're a regular here, you know I love Disney cruises and we go on a lot of them. So today we're going to be talking about our last Disney cruise. If you're new here, welcome. You came just in time to catch a new format of video that is hopefully informative and also make you laugh a little bit. Well, we're going to be talking about our most recent cruise aboard the Disney Wish, one of the most debated and hotly contested cruise ships in Disney Cruise Line's fleet. It is also one of the lowest rated out there on Cruise Critics. So to do that, we're going to look at these 1-star, 1 dot, I guess, reviews that I found on Cruise Critic about the Disney Wish. We're going to read them and we're going to look at it and see what is going on here and doesn't even make any sense. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll have my thoughts on what I think, but you'll also be able to make your own decisions about the Disney Wish and whether it's the right cruise ship for you. So without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, so if you go on Cruise Critic and you look at all the Disney cruises on there, the cruise ships, they have scores for each one of them. And as this video implies, the Disney Wish is the lowest rated cruise ship out of all of them. The Disney Wish comes in at a 3.3 out of 5 stars. I mean, anyway. All the other ships are way higher. The lowest one I saw above the Disney Wish was a 4.0 for the Disney Magic, I believe, or Wonder. And then the Dream and Fancy were both 4.5, and the Treasure was also much higher. So what's going on here? Let's check out this 1 dot review. All right, bear with me. This one's a long one. And there's no punctuation, so it's gonna be fun. Please avoid this cruise at any cost, very overpriced, and the captain made something up saying water is too shallow, and they never took us to Castaway Island, kept us on the cruise ship. The entire time only made 1 stop to Bahamas, and they charge you a fee every day. The food is horrible, and this place is boring, literally nothing to do, and they never take you to the private island, so you will be lied to. Be ready to disappointment if you decide to go. They're nothing to do, literally. They show the same movies every day. The people performing, it's so whack. Very not entertaining. They charge you for everything in the ship, even water costs $5 each. Such a ripoff. This is not wishful at all. This is the worst experience I have ever had. I traveled to 64 countries. I don't know how people go to this cruise. All right, so there's a lot to unpack there. So real quick, I'm just going to hit a couple of these things and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about our experience aboard the Disney Wish. So first of all, I don't know if you think the captain was a dirtbag captain and he didn't let them go to Castaway Cay. I mean, maybe it was too shallow. Maybe because they often have to dredge it when you are at Castaway Cay. You can often see there's dredging equipment right next to where the ship's parked. So maybe that was a thing. Maybe they had a storm and it was too shallow. So I also like how here he says there's literally nothing to do and they never take you to private islands. So obviously this person was still sore they never went to Castaway Cay. And then they say the performing, it's so whack. And I don't know what you would define whack, but I think the performing is pretty dope. So let's look at some other reviews here that are a little bit more moderate, because honestly, most of the critiques that I hear about the Wish are about the layout and the theming of the Wish. So let's take a look real quick at that. Some of the main complaints, really, small bars and cafes. Hyperspace Lounge is too small. Tiana's Bayou is too small. I'm reading here one complaint about the layout again, about the Wish, about the Luna Lounge and the way the hallways are kind of decorated. So when you walk through, you think you're in Luna Lounge. And this person essentially said that they got lost and turned around and they thought they were in a dead end, but they didn't realize they could keep walking. All right, and here's one that I actually mentioned in my own video. For me, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I can see how it can be a complaint for somebody. But it was about how in Marceline Market, on the Dream and the Fantasy, it's a buffet. You get to bring your plate, you self-serve essentially, but on the Wish, they serve you. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. All right, well, so let's just jump right into our experience then on this last cruise aboard the Disney Wish. This was a 4-night Bahama cruise to Nassau, Castaway Cay, Sea Day, and back to Port Canaveral. It's similar to our very first cruise, which was a 3-night. We just didn't have that extra Sea Day, but same itinerary. So one thing that started off kind of confusing, and I wasn't sure if that was kind of a set precedent for a cruise, was that we were actually routed to Terminal 10, which is totally different from where you normally park over in Terminal 8, which is Disney's normal terminal. There were people there directing us to go to Terminal 10. I might have missed it. There was probably something I didn't read. It said go to Terminal 10. But when we got to Terminal 10, it was a little bit of a confusing layout. You actually get your ticket at the very front, then you drive. There's 2 parking garages there. You drive through the first one, you go all the way to the end through the second garage. You have to pass through the second garage, like through it, come around, and there's like a loop there, and that is where you actually drop off your luggage. It didn't seem as organized as it normally did over in Terminal 8, where Disney Cruise Line normally sails from, but it was okay. It was still a little confusing though, because once you drop off your luggage, you're essentially able to park in either parking garage, so you can kind of come back around in this garage you're in and loop around and go park there. We elected to go further out to the second garage and parked up in the 4th floor over there, but the terminal is just literally across the street from where you park in the parking garage. So then you need to take an elevator down, walk across the street. It was a little bit confusing to get into the terminal. But once we got past all of that, it was smooth sailing. We got our pictures taken and we were on to the ship. Honestly, I love the Disney Wish. I know a lot of people don't like the theming of it, but I love the way it looks. It's supposed to be more like an enchantment theme. It looks like a castle at sea. I like that. It might not be for everybody, but especially during Christmas time when you have the tree, which also some people might think is a little bit gaudy, I like it. It's very festive. Now, on to the accommodations. For this sailing, as we had with previous sailings, we've booked an Ocean View Deluxe room, but this room was an Ocean View Family Deluxe room, which actually cannot accommodate up to 5 individuals, and it has an extra bed in there. When we did the room tour, you have the main queen size bed, there's the loft bed that comes down, the couch, and then all the way at the end there's a Murphy bed that comes down as well. So we have the queen bed here, and there's a couple things I want to talk about with all the Disney Cruise Line mattresses. They're all very similar. They're very plush, very soft, and so are the pillows. Very plush, very soft. So I'm typically the kind of person that likes to sleep on a more of a firmer bed and a firmer pillow. This is not really that big of a deal, but if you're someone who likes a firmer bed and firmer mattress, this is very pillowy and soft. You're gonna be tired regardless at the end of the day, so you're gonna sleep pretty well. So very comfortable, but very soft. So if you like soft, cushy pillows and blankets, this is luxury. This is really soft and nice bedding. So the other thing to point out is the TV. Pros and cons to it. It is much larger than on the other ships. The other ships have a small little TV kind of towards the center. But the downside is this TV does not rotate, so you can't show the other half of the room the TV. So if you have people in the other half of the room, they can't see it. This TV does not come out and swivel. The ones on the Fantasy and the Magic, they have it in this location here, and even though it's small, it's on an arm, so you can move it to either side. And then if you have this divider dividing the room, you can either have the TV on either side for whoever wants to watch it. There's also plenty of storage in the stateroom, as well as a safe where you can set your own code to once you get aboard, and then it gets reset. All right, guys, on to the food. If you've watched some of my cruise videos, you know I love the food. Disney Cruise Line has great food, and on this cruise, it was no exception. We had great food throughout. I had nothing that I did not enjoy on this cruise. Disney does something totally different from all the other cruise lines, and that is the rotational dining. If you're new to Disney Cruise Line or don't know or just curious, rotational dining essentially is you get the same servers, and they rotate with you to each restaurant each night. So you may rotate through the 3 main dining restaurants, and you'll have the same server, the same staff with you each time. So being that this was a 4-night sailing, there was one repeat restaurant that we had, and that was 1923 on day 2, but I'm gonna start with our first day, which was at Arundel's. I mentioned this in the video and somebody commented back, but this very first meal felt a little bit rushed. It seems like the new process now for Disney is that they want to take all your order up at the front. So they want your appetizer, your entree, your dessert, all up front when the server gets there. Just that way they have your whole thing already. So that way once you're ready for the next course, they'll just bring it right out. Also, our seating on this dining, while not the best, also wasn't the worst. We were the second or third table from the stage. We could still see the stage, but being that we were looking at it lengthwise, it was a little bit further away. On our very first sailing aboard the Wish, we were 2 tables away. However, it was the width-wise, so it wasn't very wide. So we felt very close to the stage on that sailing. Regardless, though, the stage show was fun. We didn't see Olaf this time. I believe we saw him last time, and I don't know when that changed. So on days 2 and 3, both days were spent in 1923. The first night was the regular 1923 experience with the regular menu, and on this sailing, as previously, I got the filet mignon, which is very good. And I highly recommend getting that. Now, the Pirate Night aboard Disney Wish is pretty much the same throughout all the ships. The menu's the same, the food is the same. I'm okay with it. I really enjoy the chowder soup. I think it was a carrot chowder soup with banana bread croutons. That is delicious. I didn't get that on this sailing, but I would recommend if you're gonna do Pirate Night, try that. That is really good. And finally, the last night we dined at Worlds of Marvel, where the dining was really good. I love the bread rolls. The bread rolls are delicious. And as I noted in that video, if you've watched it, my favorite one is the red marble bread. And I'm sure that's because of World of Marvel, it's a play on words, but that one is really good. It comes with a pimento cheese dipping sauce, which is really good. You could eat too many of those before your meal. Also, both times I was there, I've had good desserts, and this last time I had the sundae, the donut sundae. It was a very good sundae, and I love that little mini donut. It was delicious. Overall, the food was really good in Worlds of Marvel, so I would definitely recommend you take the time to look at the menu before you get there so you can know ahead of time what you're gonna get. Overall, though, I haven't had any issues with food, but I did want to touch back on that comment about Marceline Market and its buffet setup. I can understand for people who may be a little bit more introverted and would prefer just to be able to self-serve themselves. That's where I see a little bit of an issue. And that's where the Disney Wish and possibly the Disney Treasure differ and vary. Disney Fantasy, Disney Dream, Magic and Wonder maybe. It's basically buffet style. Your plates are right there. You grab a plate, you get served the food, but the Disney Wish, you have to ask for it and they give it to you on a plate already. Again, for me, it's not the biggest critique, biggest complaint, but it is something to think about. So that was actually a legitimate review there. Okay, hang on one second. I'm only using this mic because I thought it makes me look cool, but honestly now I'm just realizing it kind of looks like the back end of a squirrel, and I'm talking to that right now. I'm gonna name him Chester. Alright, so if you like this video, you like this format, you see that button down there, if you could please make like a 90s fad toy and just bop it or twist it or pull it, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, consider subscribing to my channel. Every subscription helps tremendously and it's free for you. You also get the added benefit of saying you were subscribed to me back when I had 500 subscribers, so think about that. And welcome back. Alright, now to probably what's the most debated thing is the ship layout. So prior to the Disney Wish, the Disney Magic, Wonder, Dream, and Fantasy all had roughly similar layouts in terms of where the things were located on the ship. They had their own dedicated adult areas on the ship, they had the more family-friendly areas, and they also had the... gosh, I can't remember the name of this. I'm getting kind of old and I'm blanking. Quiet Cove. Wow, I could not remember the name of that. They also have their own adult-only areas called the Quiet Cove, and on the older ships, it was a fairly generous space on the ship. They had their own pools and hot tubs and everything with bars, but this is where things are a little bit different aboard of Disney Wish. The Quiet Cove has changed significantly as to compared to the other ships. The Disney Magic / Wonder and the Disney Fantasy and Dream have their Quiet Cove on the top deck, 11th, 10th deck, towards the front of the ship, and it's its own area with its own pool. They have hot tubs, and it's usually a generous space, and they have some adult area seatings, and it's all segregated with panels that say adult only. The Disney Wish, though, differs in that they stuffed it all the way in the back of the ship, and it is much smaller of a space than compared to the Fantasy / Dream and the Wonder and Magic. So if you're on the Wish, when you go up and you walk to the adult only area, there's a long promenade that you walk, and there's a hot tub there, 2 maybe, and it wraps around, and that's where you find the infinity pools and the bar. If you continue around the corner is also the Quiet Cove Cafe. Again, though, the area feels much smaller than on the other ships, almost kind of like it was maybe an afterthought was put back there. However, to me, I didn't spend a lot of time there except for in the evenings when I was alone, and I still enjoyed the space. I think being there during the day with the infinity pool would probably be pretty nice. It is a nice infinity pool that drops off, and you have a beautiful view of the aft part of the ship, but I can see how if there's a lot of people there, it could get filled up pretty quickly, as it is a smaller area than on the other ships. The other complaint also is that it just feels stilted throughout the ship in terms of where they place things. A lot of the complaints say that it feels like a hotel, where you have a bar surrounded by some areas around it, and you got shopping all on that 3rd deck, and then you have some adult areas here and there kind of scattered throughout, whereas the other ships had its own dedicated adult area. For our family, it's not really that much of an issue. We still have a good time. If I wanted to go to the bars, they're still there. I like the Luna Lounge. I think that's a great concept right there, and it's double balcony, so I think it's a fun space. The other complaint I hear too is about the theming of it, the enchantment. People feel like they kind of phoned it in on that one. I think it's fine, it doesn't bother me. However, I am looking forward to the Disney Treasure and its adventure theme, and we'll get back to the Disney Treasure to talk about that. So in terms of the other amenities the ship has the Hook's Barbary, which I got to enjoy, and it was definitely a good experience there. The Tangled Salon. They also have the theater up in the front, which has a lot of Broadway level shows, as well as some movie theaters, which you can watch brand new movies that maybe have not even released back on land. While we didn't get to enjoy any of those experiences, I did tour it around, and I did record a ship tour, so if you would like to actually watch that, let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button on this video so I know that you guys want to check that out. Put it in the comments and let me know. The other thing that Disney Wish has are some of the water slides and fun pools, and I gotta say, I think the pool situation on the Disney Wish is better. On the main pool deck, you have a multi-tiered step on the back of the pool deck right in the center of the ship with several pools for kids. There's plenty of pools for kids, plus the main pool also on the main pool deck. Then if those pools are full, I recommend you guys check out the Chip 'n Dale pool, which is forward of where the Toy Story splash pad is on the forward part of the ship. That pool usually is not as full, and that's where we went twice on the cruise actually. The kids also really enjoyed the Toy Story splash pad. It feels about the same size as the one on the Fantasy and the Dream. It's a little bit different laid out. It's not square, it's more rounded, but they had fun nonetheless on that one and rode the slides on both sides, so they had fun. The other fun thing to do is the Slidosaurus Rex. I was disappointed I wasn't able to record on that slide, but it is fun nonetheless. If I had to rank it in terms of how it sits with the other slides that are on the Disney cruise ships, I think my favorite yellow slide would be the Twist and Spout, and then the Slidosaurus Rex. The Twist and Spout is on the Wonder and the Magic. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, on the Fantasy and the Dream, the yellow slides are not for adults. They're only for kids. The kids seem to have fun, but it does seem shorter. And now to the main attraction that's on the pool deck, the Aqua Mouse. So I was really excited for this trip because I was going to be able to ride the Aqua Mouse with my daughter, who is tall enough for the Aqua Mouse finally, so I had somebody else I can go with. So this was her first time to doing a water slide, and we both had a lot of fun. The Wish has 2 shows. We only got to see one of the shows on there, but regardless, whichever one you get, you can come back on another day and catch the other one, but they're both fun shows to watch. Once you get up to the top of the climb, it then drops you into the tubes that go through the forward funnel and then back around through the other side of the ship, and then you finish right at the back side of the ship again. While we did have a lot of fun, I will say I still think the Aqueduct on the Fantasy and the Dream are better, only because you get more slide with it. On the Fantasy and the Dream, you start up at the top and there's a twist and you're going through more of the tunnel, so it feels more like a water slide. Whereas on the Wish, it feels like a good chunk of that is just pre-show up until when you get dropped in and you're already at the forward part of the ship and you only have a little bit left to go. So if I had to choose between the two, I would say the Aqueduct on the Fantasy and the Dream would be my pick, but you can still have a lot of fun on the Aqua Mouse. Now on to my biggest question, and that is, why is the treasure so hyped? I'm not gonna lie, I'm very excited for it, and it may eventually be my favorite ship out of them. I keep hearing people who absolutely do not like the Disney Wish think that the treasure's gonna be their favorite. You guys are complaining about the layout of the ship. The layout's gonna be exactly the same on the treasure. The theme is different. Does the theme cover up the layout? Does that act like a band-aid? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm very excited for the treasure because it has a cohesive theme, and that's I think the biggest selling point of it. Disney kind of figured out that consumers really want a cohesive theme for their ships, and the treasure kind of hits that. It's kind of like an adventure theme. You got the jungle cruise themes, you got the haunted mansion. It seems very reminiscent of Disney World, Disneyland, and so I think that's a big hit. The Disney Wish does seem a little less themed. The Enchanted theme is very subtle. There are some things here, and it does seem a little disjointed where you have the Star Wars bar right next to Tiana's Bayou, the Luna Lounge. It all seems a little bit disparate, but honestly, again, it's still a very beautiful ship. I enjoy it, so but I'm looking forward to the treasure, and I know a lot of you guys are too. All right, so let's wrap this thing up. So is the Disney Wish really as bad as the scores suggest they are? In my opinion, I don't think so. I don't think it deserves a 3.3 out of whatever. Honestly, every cruise ship has its positives and negatives, and I understand some of the diehard Disney cruise liners don't like it because of the layout and the theming of it, but I mean, maybe it's because that was my first ship, but I don't mind it so much. I like the Disney Wish. Is it my favorite ship? I think I'm gonna have to give that to the Fantasy because that was the ship that we sailed our 7-night cruise on, and I enjoyed that. But I still really enjoyed the Wish. We had a great time aboard the ship. The layout doesn't really bother us, and it is great for kids. One of the reviews I read said it was great for kids, and our kids loved it. They had a good time. So let me know, do you guys think the Disney Wish deserves a 3.3 out of 5 dots? Do you agree with Mr. 1 Dot here that the captain's a dirtbag? I don't know. You let me know in the comments below. What do you think? All opinions are welcome because I talk to everybody from all opinions, and we all get along. Common thing is we all love Disney and Disney cruises. If you like this video again, hit that subscribe button, bop it, twist it, or pull it, and consider subscribing to my channel. That would help me tremendously. Like seriously. Yeah. All right. Again, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.